And good evening, everyone. ESS, Empire State Sports, proudly presents the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show. Your host tonight, Joey Realm and Pete Goslaw, and our special guest from Franklin Academy, boys basketball coach, varsity basketball coach, Tim Lamay. Tim, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Well, Tim, we're going to let you introduce yourself to all the people that are watching, all the North Country people, a little bio of yourself, right from the, I'm not going to say from kindergarten, but back from the time where you're just down off Route 11 a little bit, up to where you are now. So I'll let you take it over. And so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Tim Lamay, obviously, as Pete already mentioned, I coach varsity boys basketball in Franklin Academy in Malone. I also coach varsity boys baseball there in Malone. So I'm pretty busy from November all the way till the end of the school year with in-season stuff. But I grew up locally. I've always lived around here. I grew up in Brushton. Spent a lot of time playing basketball with all the locals there, and I was a lot of great people, in athletics. They say that it takes a whole community to raise somebody, and I was lucky enough to have some great people with the likes of Frank Jacobs, Michael Hendro, Phil LePage. We had some great people. Brad Childs. They just played a lot of basketball. Then I was fortunate enough, as I came up through, I had some great coaches in high school. One of my favorite people of all time is Gary South. He was my varsity boys basketball coach in high school, and he just really had a major impact on me, and probably one of the reasons why I'm in coaching now. So I blame him for all this torture that he's put me through. But after that, I was lucky enough I played a couple years at the college level, Plattsburgh State. I got to warm up a little bit. I didn't see a whole lot of court time, but that's okay. It was a great experience to play at that level with a great group of guys. And since then, I've settled in the Malone area. I married my wife Kelly. We've been married for 27 years now, and have two great kids who are involved in sports and played all the way up through. Tim Jr. in Austin, and they're still involved in sports today. Tim Jr. is actually the head women's volleyball coach at North Country Community College, and he also helps out with the women's basketball program up there. And my son Austin is a referee at the soccer level and the basketball level, and so they've been involved in a lot of sports, and I've been pretty fortunate to be around some great people.
A lot of names you kicked around there.
Timmy, you bring up Gary.
A lot of names you kicked around there. I remember Chico. I guess I forgot. Everybody forgets about these people in the past. And Gary South, Gary South, who had ties to St. Regis Falls, also. Some big names there, boy. We're gonna have to try to get most of them on the show, I guess. But
I think that'd be great.
A lot of stories there, I'm sure. A lot of names you picked up. So, Tim, I guess we'll nip this right in the butt right off the bat. We hit up every person we interview about this COVID thing and how it set you back, and I'm sure it's set you back tremendously, not only for your summer program that you guys run, but looking forward now to basketball season. I'm sure it's interrupting you. If you could just enlighten us on exactly where you are with all this.
Yeah, it makes it tough to have any kind of continuity, as Joey knows, and Pete, you know as well. I mean, basketball just doesn't happen from November to February or March. Kids play in the spring, they play in the summer, they play in the fall, and this has definitely limited that access time for them and limited the access time I could have with those guys as well. They weren't able to play in the spring. We weren't able to go to any kind of tournaments or whatever as a group. Usually in the summer, we usually have some type of open gym, possibly a summer league. With some open gym time as well. We're lucky enough to have a seat workout.
Well, I know,
that's for sure.
Tim, when we just started with soccer just these past couple nights, so I've been going down to the fields and just to get reacquainted with some of the kids. I mean, I haven't even, I don't know how lucky you've been, but I haven't even had a chance to see any of my own guys on my own basketball team now pushing 3-4 months. I didn't recognize a couple of them, especially with masks on. I don't know who they are now.
Right.
So, but it's just crazy. I'm starting to, obviously it's in my mind that our basketball season is not going to be normal, even if we start November 30th. I don't see it being anywhere near what you and I are used to doing. Have you given any thought to how it's going to be different this year? I'm hoping that soccer lays some framework and some groundwork so that, number one, the kids realize that, hey, this isn't about Section 10 championships and going to states. This is just about pretty much just giving you an opportunity to get together and be with your friends.
Right.
I mean, it's totally changing my mindset on how I'm going to approach the season. How about yourself?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We're living in different times right now, and I hope for all these kids' sake that they're able to have some sort of a season. I've told a lot of people I can't imagine those years from my high school being taken away from me as far as the athletics go. And I hope for the sake of these young gentlemen and young ladies that they get a chance to have a season. As far as what our season looks like, we're so used to pounding our schedule in their non-conference with some tough opponents to hopefully prepare us for that. At the end of the season, I don't see, we aren't going to have the opportunity to do that, and so the kids are going to miss out there. If we are able to play our league schedule, I think it'll be at most a league schedule. And I actually spoke to one of my players last night, and he asked me, Coach, what do you think? Is it going to happen? And I said, well, I have my doubts, but I hope for you and for the rest of the guys that it's able to happen. Just because, it's athletics is more than just about being on a court or being on a field. It's, as you mentioned, hanging out with our friends, and it really becomes its own little fraternity in a way.
So Tim, quick question, and I know there's going to be a conflict in the spring, as we know now. There might be a conflict of fall sports moving into the spring. How does that go on? How does that basically mess up your world? Because there's obviously going to be conflict with what kids are going to be able to pick, what team they're going to have to pick on or play on. Excuse me.
Yeah, I just, I haven't looked into it too deeply until we kind of reach that point. But just by looking at, the overlap, I can't imagine a kid's going to have to make that choice, that they're going to have to choose whether they're going to play that fall sport, we'll say a football, and a spring sport of baseball. So on my end, I'm being the baseball coach. It does impact me. And in this North Country, we have numbers problems with a lot of different sports, and when kids have to pick and choose, those numbers get dwindled even more. So as a coaching part of it, it could really impact in what we're able to put together as a team come springtime for baseball, and some of these athletes get divided up as far as what sport they're going to play.
We speak so much on this show, and it's tough for me as the athletic director because you want to maintain positivity, but I just don't see how there is going to, we had one of the best springs we ever had this past spring. We needed that spring for what they need to happen this spring. There is no way Malone is playing football on that field on March 1st. There's just no way.
Yeah, you're right, and it's being the grass field that it is, kind of sits down there in the hill. That field is not going to be ready by then. They'll be lucky if it's ready by April 1st or by April 15th. So you're having football players practice inside just like a baseball team would. for 4 to 6 weeks before they're even stepping on the field. And how productive is that for those kids, you know, and for that team?
Yeah, and obviously, Tim, a big issue that I'm sure you and I are, and people within the school itself, but I don't think parents yet, and we've talked about this on other shows, you know, like immediately I would say, hey, Malone, just why don't you might have to take off and go to Messina for a late practice, or take off and go to Plattsburgh, you know, and use lights and use their turf for practice. If they're lucky enough to get their turfs cleared, or come out to my place. It's not going to be that simple. That's an added financial expense right now. And I mean, I've already been told I'm done spending money. So I can't imagine, you know, finances are going to start becoming a major issue, especially as we create budgets for next year and in the years to come.
Well, and it wasn't all that long ago that we had such budget constraints before all this pre-COVID that we all lost games within our season. You know, we just kind of got our 20 game season back. So because of budget constraints. So now, you know, that's going to come back. I mean, I can't imagine even this coming year or even years to come that those budgets are going to be in place where they can handle all the expenses that sports provides, and, you know, other activities as well. But these students are going to miss out for not only this year, but other years because of the, you know, the added expenses that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's going to become a major issue. I know that. And again, we're so caught up in the moment that some of us, I don't think, are thinking of those things down the line. And it's going to be a major problem that we have to deal with. And you know, it's going to take coaches like yourself and I, but boy, it's going to be hard when you're so used to doing things a certain way. I mean, you got to be able to evolve and change, but to evolve and change because of the things that are going on right now, this is a little different than you and I just getting older and having to adapt with changing times.
Right.
This is impacting everybody, not just older coaches like yourself and I.
Right. If we are lucky enough to have a season, now all of a sudden you and I are used to having that 3 or 4 weeks to prepare a team before our first, you know, contest. Now, if we do get started by November 30th, December 1st, then we have to be done by roughly March 1st. That's with everything, the whole thing. So now you're looking at starting your first game roughly Christmas time, maybe, and getting done by the end of February, and you're really compact in everything that you do. So, you know, it's really going to come down to what if we are able to have a season, how much these kids have played together in the past, and that continuity that they could bring from years previous into this year is really going to help.
I think I'll be honest with you. I think at this time in the world, I really never. I'm sure a lot of people have never noticed how much of an impact school and sports go together, and how kids thrive for that after school activity. After their studies. So this is so detrimental to all of our kids right now that they're not being able to be in school with their friends, number one, or they're limited to that, or now sports. Sports is huge for a lot of us. I mean, we all live and breathe it. So I just can't imagine what these kids are going through. I mean, we already lost, like, this past spring. It wasn't fair to the seniors this past spring what happened.
Right.
And now we're looking at this year again, Tim, you know what I mean?
Well, and we all know that, you know, in school is driven by the activities that are around it, right? Like, as you already mentioned, in athletics, music, drama, whatever, and students need that extracurricular activity. And, you know, sports has kept a lot of students in school and have helped them graduate and be able to become successful because it made them be a part of the regular academic day. You know, most schools, like, you know, ours included, and I know at St. Lawrence Central they have an academic policy as well, and kids want to play so badly they're gonna put the work in the classroom, and if they don't have that added incentive of the athletics, you know, I am worried about those individual kids and whether they're gonna put that academic pressure on themselves to be able to achieve there.
Well, and Tim, we were kind of talking before we came on the air about, and yeah, we always get depressed. It seems like we have to set aside 10, 15 minutes every one of the shows that Pete and I do here to talk COVID. But you being a teacher, talk a little bit about your teaching life right now, so people can understand what a teacher is going through. I know I've been subbing, and in between periods when, I'm used to going out in between periods and being a hall monitor, in seeing life walking through those hallways. And now I walk out and I'm lucky to see 20 people in a 3-minute span. It's not the same.
No.
Give people a little bit of idea what's going on at Franklin Academy and what's going on in your classroom and how you're teaching right now.
So I teach math at the middle school here in Malone, and we have a hybrid schedule where I teach a group of students on Monday, Tuesday, they come into school, and then we have a deep clean day on Wednesday, and then we have a different set of group of students coming on Thursday, Friday. And so the way our schedule is set up, I see a group of students once a week. And so my Monday morning math class, I'm not going to see again until the following Monday morning. We have them for 2-hour block. So there's less travel time for those students. I rotate to different classes. The students stay in a single room the whole day, which is very, uncommon of a middle school, high school. So it really makes it difficult to have any kind of academic flow, if you want to, think of it that way. Any kind of transition from one class to an next. It's tough enough for kids to retain information in a 24-hour period, and now we're asking them to do it in a 7-day period. And it's very difficult, for these kids that just need to have this continuous repetition at the academic end to kind of, really gain from that, because, they are getting it on such a limited basis. So.
Well, again, it just seems like something, we brought this show back because of COVID, and here we are 5 months later, still talking about it. Yeah, so it just seems like it's a never ending thing. And I'll tell you, when Pete and I started this back in April, I never thought it was going to impact basketball, and now it's pretty obvious. It's obvious it's going to. We've already had our start date moved back 2 weeks. Right. So
I was pretty negligent of the whole thing as well, because even during the whole COVID time when we were shut down this spring, I'm trying to set up non-league schedules, and I'm sending out all kinds of emails and getting all that in place. And now all that was wasted time, because I don't see any kind of non-league schedule happening. We'll be lucky enough to get a league schedule in.
Yeah, did the same. I set my Lake George trip up. Actually got our girls coming with us. It was going to be a good trip. We were going to have both teams down in Lake George. And
right.
Talk about well, I had this written down, and you already mentioned it a little bit, but you got to talk a little bit about Austin getting into officiating, because number one, we don't have enough. We need them. And when it comes to basketball, I think he's going to be a good one. I've had him on a few of my games. He seems level-headed. I think he's going to be good with his mechanics and everything. But talk a little bit about the fact that, you're a head coach, the most senior coach in Section 10, and your son, who you coached, is now officiating. Probably can't officiate. I'm going to assume he can't officiate any of your games, but you get to watch him officiate. Tell me what that's like, watching your son do something that you like to holler at officials every now and again. I'm going to assume. So.
I'm kind of known for that, I guess. It's actually it's really kind of my fault that he got into officiating. He was in college and talked about getting a part-time job, and I said, Austin, I said, if you want a decent part-time job, a college kid, go become a basketball official, and you can do some modified games, and you can make a little bit of extra money. It's a pretty good gig. Well, he did that and kind of fell in love with it, and he puts a lot of pride into it, and he enjoys it. And I have had him referee a couple of my scrimmages. I've never had him for a game, I wouldn't want to put him in that situation, but, obviously I'm biased, but, I think he does a pretty good job, and he's been fortunate enough to be around the game for a long time. And I think that background knowledge really kind of helps. And it's kind of funny because he wasn't, as a player, he wasn't always the best to officials. He never really kind of understood that, on the flip side, things that, that he was told as a young player. But so he also officiates soccer, and you talked about the need for them. And he was talking to me last night about, he just got some games scheduled, and they only have 14 varsity officials for soccer this year. And they're talking about, because of, some people took a year off because of the COVID. Guys have just, older guys have moved on. Some people are just not varsity certified yet. So he literally, in Austin, because of his work schedule, is only able to work a couple days a week. So he was saying, he called me last night and said, yeah, we only have 14 varsity soccer officials for this fall. So
is that boys
I'm
and
assuming,
girls?
because I know he showed me his scheduled games, and he has some girls games too. So I'm assuming it's boys and girls. So that's going to throw another wrinkle into any kind of scheduling. And Joey, I know that's going to, as an AD, that's going to give you. But that's what Austin told me last night, because there's a bunch of them that took the year off because of the COVID situation. So so he's going to be a busy guy both this fall, and he's hoping to be able to officiate this winter.
Well, I mean, Carl, sorry, Pete, go ahead.
No. I'm in awe. We used to have officials in the section many moons ago tripping over each other. Now we don't have enough to even get one on the field. I mean, it's amazing. I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. I used to officiate.
It's kind of like coaching. Obviously people are getting paid for it, but it's a thankless job, and there's a lot of pressure on officials, and between coaches hollering at them, between parents and fans, hollering at them, and it's not necessarily, a lot of people don't want to take that pressure. And so it's got, you got to understand that it's a game, and at the end of the day, when that game is done, it's, hopefully people can realize that the game is over and it was just part of the game. But a lot of people don't handle that very well.
And I agree. I think you're right, Tim. I think that's part of the problem. And I don't think it's as much coaches as it is the fans. I really think, it's easier said than done to just say, hey, block the fans out. Sure. It's not that simple. Yeah. So I think that's a major reason why you don't see as many kids, getting into it. But, as far as Austin goes, I've always tried to express to my kids, and I've mentioned it to Toby, because he's homeschooling right now. He didn't go back to Cortland. I said, hey, I can get you into basketball reffing, I'm sure, and you can get some modified games. And I always said, if you get in young, especially in you're working in the section that you grew up in and played in, Austin was in a good spot, because we all know him. Right. If you're still getting coaches, hey, that kid played for Tim, it's Tim Lamay's son. He played at Malone. We recognize him. Those are the kids that they're going to get cut a little bit of slack, because I appreciate the fact that kid's willing to give back in that regard. They know we need officials, and we don't have some Yahoo that's saying, hey, I'm going to jump into basketball officiating, who never played the game before, or, it's just, hey, $65 for a modified game. I've seen some of these modified officials, man. You want to talk about just showing up and cashing it in. Right. There are some that are just showing it up and cashing it in.
Yeah. And when he first got started, of course, he was getting scheduled for modified games, and he would also get scheduled for, some JV games. So he hated the single JV game, and he was the alternative for the varsity games. He goes, I can go make more money, he says, doing 2 modified games. In all actuality, he was bragging one night about he was still in college, so he was at Canton, and he had a modified up in Tupper Lake. And he goes, I'm getting a mileage. He goes, I'm going to do 2 games in probably about 2 hours. He goes, I'm cashing in on that whole night. So he was he told me what the price was, but he said, he goes, I love getting those trips.
But that's going to be $140 to $150 a night going to Tupper Lake for 2 modified.
It might have been close to 200, I think, so it
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
for a college kid for one night, why not, so.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome that he's gotten into it. And I'm hoping that, it's kids like Austin that we need, that maybe he entices, or maybe somebody sees him doing it, that we get more of our kids as they leave you and I, Tim, to jump into it, because it's going to be a problem at some point. We're going to run out of officials here pretty soon.
Yeah, I agree. And I hope that I've seen some young kids get into it, and I hope there's them more that will. And I'll say the same thing about coaching. I hope there's some young people that get in coaching and then do it more than just, I'm going to try it for 1 year, because, you don't see the longevity of coaches that you used to. The Bill Murnas, the Gary Salas that did it for years. You just don't see those guys anymore. Once again, there's a lot of pressure there for, between players and parents and stuff. So I hope there's some young people that get into coaching as well.
Well, and you and I are two examples of that. It's easy for us to sit here and say, a lot of people get into coaching because of their kids. Right. You were into coaching well before your kids, and I was too, well before our kids. And now our kids are gone, and here you and I still sit, still doing something that we love to do, even though I miss my son like crazy, and not having him around. But I just love to coach, and I think we got to get back to that. We got to get back to having people, like you said, that the Bill Murnas and the Jerry Howerhands of the world, that just they love to coach and they want to coach, and they're not just around for their kid only. Yeah,
and I told a lot of people that once my kids got done going through high school, that I was going to step back and let somebody else take over, and I'm still doing it. So obviously I didn't listen to myself, and but at the same time, I was lucky enough to have my son. I've had both of my sons actually on the sideline with me at some point, and I now love going to watch them do their things. Like like I said, my oldest son Tim Jr. is a head volleyball coach at North Country. He's the assistant at North Country. The women's basketball team there. He was an assistant with me for years, and he's very passionate about it. And I enjoy sitting back as a father and looking at the young passion that he has, and it's just it's neat watching that whole cycle go through, and I get as much joy in that, and I get just as nervous in the stands during his games, whether he's the head coach or the assistant. I get just as nervous for him because I know how passionate he is about it. So.
Well, and that's something I'm hoping. Toby, because Toby didn't go back, I told him if that's something he wanted to do, we'll get him certified and he can sit on my bench with me this year. And I'm not going to lie, I need something to get me going, because I haven't done anything in 6 months. I haven't touched the basketball myself in 6 months. I like to shoot every now and again. I haven't even done that. So I need some passion, and I can see why you had Timmy along for as long as you did, because I think that would have kept my juices flowing too, if my son wanted to help out. And
a lot of times, it's just that, listen, we're not 25 anymore. And, when you work all day, then all of a sudden you're going to practice later on, you do need that energy every day. And he was always able to bring that extra energy. So now I'm trying to fight that every day, make sure I have that, I bring that energy so that these kids are prepared, and whether at that age again, but at the same time, it's nice watching what they're capable of and the passion that they bring, in whatever role that they're playing, whether it be the officiating side or the coaching side.
And it's not just the energy, Tim, it's that connection. As you and I get older, unfortunately, we start separating ourselves from, I always had Toby around, that connection. I knew what a kid 15, 16, 17, 18 was into, what they were interested in, because he was around. Sure. Now he's gone. And I'm like, I don't have that connection anymore. What's my hook to get that 15-year-old to say, hey, that's Coach Riom. He's really cool. I don't have that anymore.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, and that's a big part of it as well. It was like you say, it was almost when he was with me, it was a good cop, bad cop type of thing. I was always a bad cop, and he was a good cop. And like you say, it also helped with team continuity and team chemistry, and they had an extra ear to go and to bend on, that they needed if need be. And now it's not always easy to approach the head coach all the time, and sometimes it's easier to go, have a sounding board of the assistant, and so that's just another challenge that we have to go through. That's all.
So Tim,
But I'm happy he's at the head coaching level. I'm kind of jealous.
Tim, how many years you got at Franklin Academy now?
I have coached at the varsity level for 25 years. I just finished my 25th year at the varsity level.
God bless you.
If we're able to have it, this will be year. No, 25? No, 26. I started in the fall of 95. So I think I just finished my 26th year. So I can't do the math. Nope, 25th. I was right, 25th.
No, yeah, it is 25th. Because I started, I've only been the head coach. This will be my 15th year, but I started as JJ's, Joe Javenville's assistant in the 94-95 school year. So I just wrapped up my 26 years sitting on the bench in some capacity. So
right.
Holy cow, that's a long time, Tim.
It is a long time. It is a long time, and in retrospect, it's gone by fast. But at the same time, I look back and all the guys that were that have played for me and stuff like that, and I was real young at getting started, and I just heard one of my players turning 40 the other day, and it just blows my mind that I'm at that stage of life right now. So it goes fast.
I was gonna ask you at this point, Tim. Many teams and many players have gone through. What's the highlights that you remember the most? You must have a couple of stories out there that you just off the top of your head that, whoo, I remember that one like it was yesterday.
Yeah, well, probably one of the most satisfying years that I had was my JV coach now is Ryan Childs, and his senior season, we were a few points away from going to the Final Four, and that's when we had only 4 classes. We were B school at that point, and we went to we played here. We come out of the B's here. We beat Ogdensburg twice that year. They went 21-2, and their 2 losses were to us. We beat them in our home court, and then we beat them in the playoffs. And then we were able to then beat Plattsburgh in the North Country Regional, and we went down to Syracuse, and we took on a VVS team, and they were ranked 4th in the state. And we had no business in beating them. If we would have played them 10 times, we probably would have lost them 9 times. But it was our night that night, and the kids were super focused, and we come up with a game plan. Our game plan worked. We knocked off the number 4 team in the state. The way it was set up then, we had to play the next afternoon against a Glens Falls team that was had the bye and was able to watch us play the night before. And it was about a minute to go, and it was tie ball game, and a couple of things didn't go our way in trips, and we weren't able to come away with a victory. But that was probably one of the most satisfying, and that was that would have been 99, so that would have been my 4th year of coaching. And so you talk about it, it's 21 years ago, but yet I remember it like it was yesterday. Just because that group of kids just came together as a cause. And I told them many times that December, we were not playing well. And if I would have said, listen, Ryan Childs is hot right now, let's give him the ball. And, guys are guys, they hear that and say, watch this, I'm going to get the next shot. But when we came in that game for the right to go to the Final Four, at one point, Ryan Childs had 16 points in a row offensively for us. And we just ran the same play. and they weren't defending it well, and a timeout. And I literally said, guys, let's make sure we get the ball to Ryan. He's got the hot hand right now. And they did it. And it was just a total transformation from where we were in December to where we were in March. And it was just very gratifying.
We've talked about this before. We had Tim Courier on last week. He'll be on Aaron here shortly, I believe the first or whatever. And we got Tom Miller coming up. One of the things we've discussed on the show before is that no matter what happens during the course of the year, you two teams are always going to be fighting for that title at the end of the year. And one of you is going to states, no matter which way, well, not states, but it's going to regional play. The problem has always been that next step, Tim, and getting over the hump. How do you, as a coach, prepare every year to try to basically figure that out, that next step out, so you can get to the next level?
Well, it really kind of comes down to the fact is that we are, numbers wise, we're a class school, but we kind of play in a class B, what schools, how they're set up for that year. We are at a huge disadvantage when it comes to the state playoff time, because we don't play those Class A type teams all the time. And Class A is very broad and very, as far as numbers goes, and we could end up playing a school that's twice as big as we are numbers wise, who have played against A and AA schools all year long. We try to set up a very tough non-league schedule, but as mentioned before, budget constraints are always an issue, and if we want to play a lot of A schools or maybe even a AA school, we're gonna have to travel 4 hours away, and that makes it kind of difficult, as far as budgets go, and that's always an issue. So yeah, we just try to set up as tough a non-league schedule as we can. Then of course we have a very tough league schedule. I mean, the teams we have in our league, we don't have a night off. So just getting us to be able to play, against the kids that have that kind of size and that kind of athleticism at the A and AA level is just something we don't see as much around here.
So Tim, we had Mark Flick on too, and we talked about that and how it's changed, when we went to the 4-5 classifications. And we talked about how tough it is for you guys. You got to play Messina every year. Doesn't matter if Messina's 2-14 and you're 14-2 or whatever the records are. That game it always seems to be a game in the fourth quarter in both the girls and the boys. It's very, very rare. It's a blowout. But I want to ask you, as the baseball coach, same thing? Is it the same deal with when it comes to getting if you get out of here and beat Messina, is it the same situation for you guys in the baseball side of things as it is basketball? Is there a
Not
big
as much.
discrepancy?
We've been able to compete a little bit better at the state level baseball wise. Actually 2008, we went to the Final Four. Baseball wise, we've been a couple of times, we've been pretty darn close to it as well. We just are, for whatever reason, we're able to compete a little bit better on the state level baseball wise. And it really, of course, with baseball, it comes with pitching and everything. And if you get that bye in that first round of states, and you really only have to win that one game to get there, that creates a huge advantage for us. We always seem to give downstate teams a tough game baseball wise. So I don't think they think of it as much of as an easy win as what they do at the basketball, level.
Where was that when you went to the Final Four?
We
baseball,
played at Binghamton. We actually played
at
the Double-A Stadium where the Binghamton Mets play, and it's still in Binghamton now. That was a great experience, and that was actually my first year at the varsity level. I had coached at the JV level, and I inherited a great group of guys who had played a lot of baseball, and once again they just seemed to gel at the right time. And actually, I believe we started the year off at 2-4, and then we just got playing some pretty good baseball, and we were able to beat a a pretty good team out of Section 3, and we only had to win the one game because we had to bye, and we went to the Final Four, and we lost. We ended up losing to the eventual state champion in a 5-2 game in the state semifinals, which was a very good game.
Well, Timmy, we're winding down. How much? I will say this. I mean, yeah, it's something that we didn't really mention, but part of the stuff that we've missed out on is we missed out on Malone summer basketball, which is something that our kids always look forward to. It's just again an avenue to get out, see your kids, get an idea of what you got, and but just the AAU circuit itself. I mean, I think about it, and when we do start, if we start November 30th, I mean, we're all in the same boat. We haven't had there won't be any kids that will have played anywhere since we ended our season. I think I got one AAU tournament in before the blue and orange. I got the blue and orange in before COVID hit.
No, we weren't able to play that in that one. Actually, we were kind of still going at that point with our regular season at that point. And I do have a couple guys that are playing, and they've traveled to Pennsylvania to go play down there because AAU is allowed down there and tournaments were allowed. It's not a team out of Malone, but I have a couple guys that are going to play, and I don't think they're getting a whole lot of practice time, but they did go to one tournament. I believe they're going to another one this weekend. So I do have a couple kids that are playing, just not as a whole unit or that we're able to. And yeah, we miss, my wife, Kelly, and I, and the boys were able to run the summer league there for several years. And we weren't able to do that. And we kind of missed that, having that summer connection there. And it was always laid back, but yeah, it was always competitive at the same time. So.
Yeah, no, it was always worth it. Just to get your kids up there, like I said, be able to see them play together, get them used to you, get them used to your voice, that sort of thing. So, so before we wrap up, you mentioned them way back early, and it was the one name that I wanted to bring up tonight because I knew that Pete and Dave would recognize it, but it's a name that hasn't been brought up in a lot of our shows. Did you ever see Gary South?
He lives in Florida.
Yeah.
So he doesn't, I don't see him as much anymore, but so tell you how wild, Pete mentioned he had some St. Falls ties, and Gary came to Bruston as a varsity coach he started my junior year. And so that would have been 86, 87. And, he was just a great role model for me, and just, very professional about the way he conducted himself and in the classroom, on the court, and I was able to learn a lot from him. And so he was great. He's been great to my boys. My boys have kind of hung out with him, working basketball camps with him. And that was great for me to see. And, but last I knew, I haven't talked to him in a while, but he's down in Florida and doing well, enjoying the warmer weather, and maybe, in another 6 years or so, maybe I can get down there and join him.
Yeah. Where is he? Do you know?
He was in Ocala, and then I don't know if he had moved to a different spot. He talked about moving to a different spot, but he likes the Ocala area. So
then he's not too far from my dad. I'll have to check, see if I can find him. If I ever get down there to see my dad again, of course, he can't really travel right now. But I know I got to know Gary a little bit better the first couple of years I coached Chateauguay basketball camp. Gary was there. I got to know him a little bit better, and it just seemed like a kind of guy I would have loved to have played for myself. It's just a fiery coach and a good coach. I know he always got the most out of you guys. Every team that I ever played against when he was coaching, I just remember them just all out all the time.
Yeah, he taught the game well, but at the same time, he had that passion about him that that these coaches that have been doing it for a while have. He was fiery. He wasn't afraid to to get in your face and you know, tell you that you needed to step up a little bit. At the same time, you had a softer side to him as well. So just a great man all around.
Well, Tim, really, we appreciate you coming on. It's kind of funny that we didn't plan it this way, but we had Timmy Courier last week. You're on this week, and Tommy Miller's coming up next. So somehow we got the Messina, and Mark Flick was on just recently. So we have the whole Messina connection here over the last couple of weeks. So
Great.
We can't thank you enough for coming on. We appreciate it. Thanks for everything that you're doing with your kids at Franklin Academy. And we wish you guys all the best as we all try to navigate ourselves through this new time that we're in.
Well, thank you. And I was happy to be on, and nice talking sports with some great local guys. So I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Tim, for coming on. I really appreciate it. Good luck with your season if you have one.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Bye-bye.
That's going to be it here on ESS, EmpireStateSports.com, Empire State Sports, and the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show. Joey Young, Pete Goslaw, and Tim Lamay, who just signed off. That's going to be it for tonight, everybody. Good night and stay safe.
All right, man. All right, so I just booked. We're good through your hunting trip, so we're good.
Well, you get the 12th, you said, or no? That was the 18th.
I just sent you another one. That Jess Harvey's going to come on Monday, October 12th.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that. You're not okay. All right,
Yeah. So now I'm.
It gets us through till November 1st, or anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I can start focusing on trying to find some new names and see what we can.
And we'll know
see what we can get.
We'll know a lot more between now and then, anyway.
Yep. Without a doubt.
All right.
All right, man. See ya.
See you next week.
Yep.